Welcome to the Becoming Superhuman Podcast. I'm your host, Trevor Schmidt. I was trained in Western medicine as a physician assistant where I was exposed to the dark side of medicine. Through self-education and biohacking, I figured out ways to hack my system, becoming a better version of myself. We'll explore the wisdom and insight of my findings with each episode of the Becoming Superhuman Podcast. All right, how to attain superpowers through fasting. Becoming superhuman just got a lot easier for you. The first thing I want to do is I want to define what fasting is. See, fasting is the intentional abstinence from food and caloric beverage. So, in contrast, we talk about starvation. So a lot of people might misinterpret this and say, oh, I got to starve myself for a period of time. It's not starvation. This is intentional. So starvation would be an accident that you just didn't have food. And now our early humans, the way that they ate and the patterns that they ate, it was such that they were hunters and gatherers. And so sometimes they weren't able to, hunt and capture the prey and eat, right? So they would end up fasting for periods of times, and how long those periods of times are, it may vary. Maybe it was a couple of days, maybe it was just 24 hours. Now, what we found is that there was many benefits to fasting. Now, I've personally been exploring the world of fasting myself, so I've been testing this stuff on myself as I educate myself and learn more about what fasting is, how to utilize it, and how to use it as a tool to biohack my body and achieve the things that I want to achieve, specific things that you're looking to achieve. Fasting has an effect on the body, and there's physiological effects that we can measure, and these are going to lead to the explanation of why we're doing the fast in the first place and what are the benefits. So physiologically in our body, what happens is when we stop eating food, our body it'll burn through all the additional sugar and the carbohydrates that we have within our system. And then once it depletes all the sugar and carbohydrates, our liver will naturally start to produce ketones. And then the ketones trigger our body to go into ketosis. And there's many other benefits of the ketones, but once our body gets into ketosis, it essentially triggers a fat burning state. And so this is like the supercharged ability to burn fat on call, right? You get into ketosis, and this is with fasting. Once you get into the certain point, and so you have to burn through the sugar and carbohydrates. That's the key. Now, also, there's many benefits to fasting in which when you stop consuming food, it gives everything a chance to rest. So normally when you're eating 3 meals a day, our bowels are constantly moving, they're constantly working, our kidneys, our liver, everything is constantly working to filter out and get the nutrients out, as well as eliminate the toxins. So when you fast, you give everything a break. Food stops going through the bowels, and it gives the bowels a chance to completely relax and rest, as well as the kidneys and the liver. And so what this is it sets you up for a full body reset. So when the body stops getting traumatized by the toxins that we're putting in it through the food, it can then reset and go back to, imagine it's like resetting to your factory settings. And so your body will reset back to its factory settings, and then when you restart everything, it starts to work again and function. Now, there's other benefits into fasting that I want to discuss, and this is important to individuals that have medical issues, whether it's the effects on the insulin, their hormones, or even your metabolism. Insulin is a hormone produced by the pancreas that regulates blood sugar levels. And then when you eat, your body releases insulin. It helps to process the glucose from the food and distribute it to the cells for energy. So this is naturally what happens. When you eat sugar, your body will naturally start to release insulin, and the insulin is trying to get the sugar out of the circulation, so out of the blood supply and into the cell so it can be utilized for energy. Now keep in mind that sugar circulating in the system is toxic. Our body does not like it, and it is inflammatory, so it causes inflammation. So when we release insulin, the insulin gets the sugar out of the system and into the cell so we can utilize it for energy. Now, whatever sugar doesn't get utilized, or if you eat too much sugar and you don't need it for your cells, by design, your body will store it as fat. That's what's supposed to happen. So during the fasting state, the insulin levels will drop because there's no food intake. And this allows your body to tap into the stored energy, such as the glycogen and the fats. And so we already store these things as stored energy. We store within our fat cells, and we need to release this energy. But the only way to release it is to get into this ketosis state. Now, fasting also affects the hormones. Fasting can affect hormone levels in your body. And for example, begin to fast for an extended period of time, 24 hours or more, your body will produce more growth hormones. And the growth hormones will help to preserve muscle mass. This is important, right? So when you're losing weight, you don't want to be losing muscle mass. But the hormones that are created with the fasting state will produce growth hormones that help preserve the muscle mass while burning fat. And they also support the overall tissue repair and maintenance of the body. Now, obviously, a lot of people are concerned about gaining weight, and so they want to do weight loss. That's a big concern. 41% of our population is now considered obese. So this is also a way to lose weight. Now, there's clearly many, many benefits to fasting other than weight loss. However, it can be used as a tool if you want to lose weight. Fasting can have an impact on your metabolism, which is the process by which your body converts food into energy. Now, during fasting, your metabolism shifts to prioritize the breakdown of stored fats and energy instead of relying on the immediate food intake. Now, this can lead to increased fat burning, weight loss over time. More importantly, the fasting can lead to enhanced cellular repair and processes that promote the removal of toxins from your body. So it effectively puts your body into a detoxing state. When you get into this state of detoxification, there can be some issues. If you've ever done detoxing before, when your body starts to spill out these toxins, you can have a reaction, start to feel the sensations that the toxic affects. So you'll feel toxic for that period of time while your body's getting out of your system. So once it gets out of your system, you'll start to feel better again. So it's a short-term effect. When you start to burn fat in your body, you will obviously get a weight loss. So those of you that are looking to lose weight, you can utilize fasting as a tool to accelerate this process, because once you get into ketosis, you'll start to burn fat, which means that your weight loss will happen rapidly. And we can control this by maintaining a certain level of ketosis. It also is going to improve your insulin sensitivity. So those of you who are right on the border of diabetes, I believe it's nearly 48% of the population is considered to be pre-diabetic or diabetic. That amounts to upwards of 130 million people. Now, many of you may already know individuals who have diabetes. You have family members that have diabetes. So this is some serious stuff that we're solving right now. Now, when you start your fasting, you will actually have low blood sugars as a consequence. That's the consequence of getting into ketosis. It affects and controls your blood sugars. Another major benefit that we've kind of discussed a little bit was the cellular repair. Our body, in the medical term for this, is called autophagy, which means that auto means our body and phagy means it's like we're eating the cells or eliminating the bad cells. Now, autophagy is a natural cellular process where damaged and dysfunctional components within the cells are broken down and recycled. So imagine it's like a self-cleaning mechanism for our body. So during fasting, when the body is not receiving nutrients from food, when your body gets into ketosis during the fasting state, it'll start to eliminate and set the stage for this cellular repair. Now, the cellular repair that occurs during fasting is also facilitated by the fasting state. It shifts its energy and utilization from the immediate food intake to utilizing the stored energy sources within the cells. Now, this metabolic switch triggers various repair mechanisms at the cellular level. For example, it can stimulate DNA repair, which improves the mitochondrial function. Mitochondrial, if you might remember from biology, the mitochondria is the part of the cell that produces the energy. We'll call it the powerhouse energy producer within the cell. Fasting will enhance the production of the antioxidants that protect the cells from damage. All of this works in conjunction to not only protect the cell, any of the dead cellular material that's there, helping to wash away all this stuff and to cleanse out your system. So going into a fasting state will put you into this detoxifying state where it essentially at a cellular level starts to eliminate these toxins and get them out of your system. Now it's worth noting that at the extent or length of the fasting can definitely influence the degree of the cellular repair. Longer fasts have been shown, as well as water fasts only, so when it's just water, has been shown to significantly increase the cellular repair. So the next thing that I wanted to discuss was the benefits to the system itself. So our system, our body, where are the benefits coming from, and who would be more likely to benefit from these situations. So as I talk about these specific things that it can benefit, it's, think of this as a tool that we have now. So if you have these issues, you can utilize this tool to hack into your system and set yourself up for better system, better set, a resetting of your system to get back to your, quote unquote, factory settings. The benefits of fasting, it improves the cardiovascular system, brain function, as well as longevity. Now, with the cardiovascular system, the fasting has been associated with several cardiovascular benefits. Now, it may help to improve heart health by reducing risk factors such as the body weight. As you reduce your body weight and decrease the fat, this will inherently lower your blood pressure as well as the cholesterol levels and markers for inflammation. Now, fasting has been shown to enhance your insulin sensitivity, lower your LDL, which is the bad cholesterol. It also reduces triglycerides and increases the HDL, which is the good cholesterol. These improvements on the cardiovascular health markers, they may contribute to reduced risk of heart disease and improved overall cardiovascular function. So those of you that maybe you have cardiovascular disease in your family and you're concerned about it, this is something that will kind of set you up for a better situation where you can perhaps avoid the potential pitfalls of what you believed was your genetic predisposition. Now, there's many studies now that are showing that genetics, while they may be an indicator of what is possible for you, they are not indicative of what is going to happen. But more importantly, it's the environmental factors that we do on a day-to-day basis that will either turn on or turn off our genes. So those of you who have family members that have died from diabetes or heart disease or cancer or whatever the case, and you believe that it's genetically going to happen to you, I got some good news for you. That's not the case. So our gene expression is the way they're describing it now, is based off the things that we're doing on an environmental basis, the food that we intake, the toxins that we are around, and the environment in general. In addition to, our genes are being expressed by the thought process as well. So if you have a negative mindset, then you're going to have a negative expression on your genes. So these things are really important here. Now, when you're in ketosis, the cool thing with ketosis is our body, our brain, really likes to be on ketones, and it also utilizes cholesterol to function properly. So when your body's functioning on ketones, it gives you this sense of, I call it my unlimited energy source. You just feel great. You feel like the mental fog has been lifted and you can think clearly again. Many of you who may feel overwhelmed, this is the chemical basis to be able to put you in a state of being when you feel great. And you feel like you're creative and full of energy. If you had decided that you were drinking coffee because you're too you have no energy and you can't think straight, and people say I can't function without my coffee, well, this will allow you to completely eliminate coffee. There's just no need for it. You just won't even feel like you need it anymore because you're thinking clearer again. You have more energy. Amazing. I love fasting because it makes me feel like a rock star. Okay, longevity is one of the main functions that I want to focus on. This is me personally. Longevity is one of my main goals. I'm trying to live longer, but it's not necessarily about just living longer. It's about living a more productive life. In order to meet your full potential, we have to keep on pushing and hacking the system to try and get better and better and better. And we want to improve to the state where everything runs smoothly the way it should be. Now, fasting has been linked to potential longevity benefits. The researchers have observed that certain fasting regimens, such as the calorie restriction or intermittent fasting, for example, these fasting practices have accelerated cellular repair processes, reducing the oxidative stress, improving the insulin sensitivity, and promoting the cellular repair. Collectively, all these things contribute to living longer. But again, like I was saying, it's not just living longer. You want to live and function at your highest level for as long as possible. You don't want to live to be 80, 90, 100 years old, but for 40 years you're sitting in a wheelchair because you couldn't move, because you were diabetic or you're obese. And you know, statistically speaking, 49% of the amputations have occurred from diabetics. So diabetes causes all kinds of problems. Many people don't realize, because diabetics, you don't really feel the problem and you don't recognize the problem until it's already too late. Diabetes is a terrible, terrible disease, and most of the people that are dying in the hospital have diabetes. Many of your friends and family members that are struggling with obesity are also struggling with type 2 diabetes, or they're right on the cusp of diabetes. So if you want to live longer, you have to create the conditions to allow for this body to function longer. And so just simply doing things like fasting will put your body in a state of being where it functions properly. And if it functions properly, it can maintain a lot longer. Imagine it's like this vehicle that we have is like a car, right? And you know, when your car is breaking down, if you don't take care of it, you don't change the oil, you don't change the tires, you don't change the brakes, eventually you're going to have to get rid of the car because it's going to fall apart. However, like the Cubans showed us, like they couldn't get vehicles, they couldn't get cars there. So the Cubans, what they did is they just keep repairing cars. So they had cars from the 50s and 60s that were like brand new, right? You just repaint it, you do new tires, you reupholster it, you change out the engine, you change out everything. So well, our bodies are the same thing. We already know that we can change out, if our knees go bad, we can change out our knees. If our shoulders go bad, we can get a shoulder replacement. If our heart goes bad, we can get a heart transplant. We already know we can all of our parts are interchangeable. And at some point, we're going to be able to do a brain transplant. I know they've been testing with this stuff, but at some point, we'll be able to do that. If we can maintain them, they'll last forever. And if we can't maintain them, we have the technology now to replace them. The technology's there. It's there, but we're still getting better at it. There's other technologies where they can 3D print organs. So if you need a new organ, they can 3D print it, and it'll be based off of your DNA because it'll be seeded with your DNA and your stem cells. Then it grows over these biological 3D printed organs. Super exciting stuff. So prospects of living a significantly longer life, they're already here. They're already here. I'm here to just show you the way to get to that point and not deteriorate and die. Right, so that's the key. We don't want to deteriorate and die. We want to maintain what we have and then slowly start to turn back the hands of time as we improve our body. The interesting thing that I learned is that our body naturally has the ability to rebuild and regrow. Our cells are turning over at a rapid pace. The soft tissue in our body, as quickly as every 17 to 20 days, we're turning over all the soft tissue. So that's like all the cells on the inside of our lip here. Our skin cells are sloughing off and new cells are forming. Some of the other tissues like the bone takes quite a bit longer. But effectively, we are recreating a new body on a regular basis. So why do we keep recreating a bad body? Okay, the only reason we do is because of the conditions that we create for this body. So if we create better conditions, our body will recreate a new body with better cells. So this is how we are becoming superhuman. We are rebuilding ourselves at a foundational level. Fasting gets us to that foundational level where we can essentially hit the reset button. We get the toxins out of our system, then we reboot. We restart. Now, you might not be able to reboot and restart and get everything out of you all with one fast. It takes time. So let's talk about the different types of fasting. Now, fasting, you can do liquid fast that you could use like juicing, so there's no solid. But when you do juicing, typically you're going to have sugar interjected in there. However, you can do green juices where you can still accomplish and achieve the ketosis levels while you're while you're fasting and drinking green juices. So there's the fasting method that you can, the time lengths, so we can change the times of the fast. So the intermittent fasting, which is it's a popular buzzword now that you probably hear in the media. The intermittent fasting refers to fasting for a period of time throughout the day and then having a period of time where we are eating. And so a common intermittent fasting time period would be 16 hours of fasting and then 8 hours of eating. Or you can change to 18 hours of fasting, 6 hours of eating. 20 hours of fasting, 4 hours of eating. And you can mess with this on whatever suits you best. Whatever suits you best. In the fasting time period, you want to be drinking water regularly. So remember, when we get into ketosis, our body will start to detoxify. And in order to enable our body to detoxify properly, we need liquid. We need water to run through our system to cleanse out like the river of life, take all the bad stuff away. So the different durations of time, you have intermittent fasting, which you could do, within a 24-hour window. You can also do a full 24-hour fast, a 3-day fast, a 5-day fast, 7-day fast. Jesus fasted for 40 days before he started his ministry. Now, my belief is that when he fasted for 40 days, it completely cleansed out all the toxins into his body, which elevated him to a different resonance, a different frequency, and allowed him to function at a significantly higher level and reach his full potential as an electrical being. When you cleanse out all these toxins, your body will actually start to work better. And it gets to be a state of time when it was, for me personally, this is right around 3 days. But when you start to get these toxins out of your system, the inflammation that was caused by the toxins starts to fade away. And so what is inflammation causing on your body? It causes everything. It causes all the problems. So inflammation is that there's achy joints, so stiffness. So when you get up in the morning, you have a difficult time moving. You gotta move, start to stretch out. That's the inflammation. But on a foundational level, the inflammation causes all chronic disease. All chronic disease. So whether it's your inflammation in your knees or your shoulders, that's called arthritis, so that's in the joint. Or if you have arthritis in the blood vessels, we get hypertension, we get cardiovascular disease when it gets into the joints. If you get into the kidneys, you start talking about diabetes. It causes all kinds of problems, but at a foundational level, this is inflammation over a long period of time, then leads to the symptoms and dysfunction of chronic disease. The better we are able to suppress inflammation, the better all of our organs will function at a optimal level, and that's the goal. So the longer you do these fasts, the better ability you're going to be able to reset the system. So 3 days, 5 days, 7 days. Now, you don't want to start off, if you've never fasted before, you don't want to jump right into these longer fasts. You want to build up to it. So, start with your intermittent fasting, and then as you can function on an intermittent fasting, you start to create habits that way. Your body will restructure itself. Your stomach will start to shrink, and your appetite will start to adjust. Then if you want to start progressing to a slightly longer fast, you can do, a 2-day, 3-day fast. Now, as you get into this, you're going to realize, as I mentioned earlier in this podcast, that you may experience these detoxification symptoms, and these symptoms would include like headache. That you just feel, like you got hit by a truck, right? And these people, you feel down and out and toxic, overloaded with toxins, because they're trying to come out of your system. So you got to want to drink more water and you want to rest. That period, you'll get past it. I assure you, you'll get past it. It takes time, but that's why you want to take this process slowly, especially if you're very toxic to begin with. You don't want to jump into a long fast because you'll be spilling out too many toxins and you'll feel like crap. So if you need to modify the fast, you can do that as well. And some people will do for example, if you have activities that you want to, like sporting activities or working out, maybe you want to consume some sugar or carbohydrates to get you quick energy. So maybe you want to do that. Or you can do something like a cycling of the fasting, where you can do fasting for intermittent fasting for perhaps 5 days a week, and then do 2 days of the week on the weekends where you're consuming sugar and carbohydrates. You're going to find what makes sense to you. There's different functions for each one of these things, but you got to just understand that you have the ability to change and modulate depending on what makes sense to you. So you can modulate the timing of it. So how long you can do intermittent fasting, so it's only a period of the day. You can do multiple days, longer fasts once you build up to that. Or you can add in food. See, there's also different foods that will not kick you out of the fast. So it's the sugar and the carbohydrates that will kick you out of ketosis. So you can actually consume vegetables that don't have sugar. And you can consume these vegetables that don't have sugar because you can consume them and they won't get you out of ketosis because they don't have enough sugar in them. So if you desire, if you want, you can consume food like greens while you're fasting, and it should maintain your levels of ketosis. Now, while you're in ketosis, and I discussed this during our ketosis podcast, but I'll discuss this here as well. While you're in ketosis, you can actually measure the levels of ketosis. And my favorite way of measuring is with the breath monitor. And you can get these breath monitors on Amazon. Just purchase them on Amazon. It's about $35, and then you just simply blow into this breath meter that will tell you your level of ketosis. So you'll be able to gauge if you're in ketosis or not in ketosis. As you get further along the fast, you'll see your levels of ketones rise up, and then as your levels of ketones rise up, you're technically hitting higher levels of ketosis, which will accelerate the fat burning process and accelerate all the benefits of fasting. All right, so let's just highlight everything here. To reiterate what we were just talking about, fasting is the intentional deprivation of food and caloric liquids. So we're doing this on purpose, and when we do this on purpose for long enough, our body will naturally start to produce those ketones in the liver, which get our body into ketosis. Once you're in ketosis, this is the magic with a fat burning state, which detoxifies your body, gets out all the bad stuff, and sets you up for a optimized body and resetting everything back to your factory settings. All right, when you are ready to become superhuman and take advantage of all these superhuman powers, fasting is definitely in your wheelhouse and going to be in the plan. So follow me now. We're going to talk more about this stuff and other aspects of becoming superhuman and developing superpowers, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Gandhi said, "Be the change you wish to see in the world. You must choose to become superhuman." Thank you for listening to this episode of the Becoming Superhuman Podcast. I'm your host, Trevor Schmidt. Be sure to follow our social media channels, and we'll see you next time.